Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're going to be, stepping into this world. It's kind of terrifying, but also strangely familiar at the same time. We're talking about George Orwell's 1984,
Hmm.
and we're going to be using, excerpts from the book itself. Let those words just kind of like sink in.
Yeah. It's not just about the plot, right? It's about feeling the weight of this dystopia, understanding why it just keeps resonating with readers all these decades later.
For sure, for sure. We want to get to the heart of it, right? The why behind this like really unsettling world, and we start, in Oceania, this place of really stark contrasts.
Yeah. Imagine a society ruled by the party, right?
Mhm.
And Big Brother, he's always watching you, everywhere. Even time itself is distorted in this world.
Oh, yeah. The clock striking 13 is one of those details, right, that just, like, throws you off balance
Yeah,
immediately.
exactly. It's like all the rules you thought you knew, right? About logic, reason, they don't apply here anymore.
And then you have these crumbling apartment buildings, right, Vickery mansions,
Mhm.
and people are, like, living in squalor.
Juxtaposed against those really imposing ministries, right? Truth, plenty, love. Their names themselves are a sick joke.
Oh, totally. And the Ministry of Love, right, the most terrifying of all.
Yeah.
That's where the thought police are.
Exactly. Orwell uses these contrasts, to highlight the party's absolute power and how they manipulate even just basic necessities.
It's even in the sensory details, right, like the oily gin, the grime. You can, like, practically feel the oppression closing in on you.
And in the midst of all this, we meet Winston Smith.
Yeah, Winston, he's just an ordinary man in a lot of ways, but he's haunted by these like memories, right? Glimpses of the past the party's trying to erase.
He wants truth. He wants freedom. He wants connection. Real connection.
And that yearning, it leads him to do something really dangerous, right? He writes, "Down with Big Brother" in his diary. Seems small, but
But it's huge. It's like an act of immense courage. This rebellion against the party's control over thought itself.
and that control is everywhere. The telescreens, always watching.
And the manipulation of language, like newspeak, designed to limit thought itself.
It's like the party's trying to shrink the world,
Yeah.
narrow the possibilities of human experience.
And they control the past too, right? The Ministry of Truth. They're always rewriting history, making it fit the party's narrative.
And that's where doublethink comes in. Holding two contradictory beliefs in your mind at the same time. Accepting what you're told, even when it completely contradicts your own memories.
It's essential for the party, doublethink. Creates this obedient but deeply confused population, unable to trust their own perceptions even.
But even in this world, there are these flickers of humanity, right? Like Winston's memories of his mother
Mhm.
and that incident with the chocolate.
Moments of real connection, of love and loss, things the party can't quite erase, It's like a time before Big Brother when human emotions weren't so controlled.
And then there's Julia. She rebels in a different way, right? Focusing on personal pleasure, carving out these moments of freedom in this world where they're so scarce.
It's more instinctual Julia's defiance, I think, rejecting the party's control over her body and her desires.
But what about the proles? This vast majority of the population living outside the party structure.
They're fascinating, the proles. It's like they're a paradox almost.
Yeah.
Seen as ignorant by the party, almost subhuman even. And yet they have this freedom that Winston and Julia crave.
Free from the surveillance, the psychological manipulation.
But they're also kept ignorant, distracted by lotteries and cheap entertainment.
Orwell says they're like cattle turned loose, right? Capable of great love and also great brutality.
It's he's suggesting they hold the key to overthrowing the party, but they lack the the awareness, the will to actually organize and rebel.
Yeah, it's tragic, right? They have this freedom Winston and Julia would give anything for, but they don't even see it.
Yeah. Their lack of awareness. It's their strength and their weakness all at once.
And speaking of strength, Winston finds this this strange kind of connection with Mr. Charrington. He's the shopkeeper, right? He seems harmless.
Mr. Charrington, yeah, with his faded enthusiasm for trinkets of the past.
He's like a link to a world before the party, A world where individuality and freedom of thought were actually possible.
Yeah, like a ghost of that world almost. Reminding Winston that things weren't always this way.
And their shared fascination with the past, right?
Yeah.
With those little pieces of history the party has tried to just completely wipe out.
It's like a subtle form of rebellion, right? Holding on to a truth that the party's just declared non-existent.
It's in this, like, atmosphere of fear and suppressed longing, right? The Winston and Julia's relationship starts to, like, take shape.
Their connection, it's like a spark of defiance in a world that's like shrouded in darkness, Winston and Julia. Their relationship, it's a dangerous stance, you know, in this world where like intimacy is a threat to the party.
Yeah. It's like they're trying to create this space, right? For love.
Yeah.
For connection.
Yeah.
In a society that wants to, like, regulate every single emotion.
Yeah. Yeah. Their secret meetings, the little whispered conversations, they all become like acts of defiance, right?
And that room above Mr. Charrington's shop, it becomes their sanctuary, a world apart from Oceania.
They think, you know, for a while that they found this place where they can just be themselves, where the party can't see them.
But the party's reach, it's long. And the threat of discovery, it's always there.
The tension, it builds as their relationship deepens. And their rebellion, it becomes more than just like stolen moments, right?
Yeah. Right. It becomes about, like, questioning the party's power, right, at its
Well,
core.
yeah, they read Goldstein's book, right?
Okay.
That forbidden text.
Yeah.
It lays out like the party's ideology, its methods of control.
It's like a moment of awakening for Winston,
Right.
He starts to see, like, the bigger picture,
Yeah.
how the party, how they manipulate everything.
Yeah.
History, language, even human emotion.
And their rebellion, it takes on this new dimension. It's not just personal freedom anymore, right? It's about the truth and fighting back against the party's tyranny.
And for a while, they believe they found an ally. Inside the party, no less.
O'Brien.
O'Brien,
Yeah.
inner party member. He seems to, like, share their doubts. They're longing for something different.
He invites them to his apartment. Like it's like this world of luxury and privilege, right? A stark contrast to Winston's life.
They drink wine. They talk about the Brotherhood, this shadowy organization that supposedly opposes the party. It's a mix of hope and fear. You know, they're risking everything, but they believe they've found someone who gets it, someone who can help them fight back.
But it's all a trap.
The moment the thought police burst in, it's just like, it's devastating. You know, all that hope just gone.
The illusion of safety just shattered. That room above Mr. Charrington's shop.
Their sanctuary.
It was a lie.
Yeah.
Mr. Charrington, he was thought police all along.
It's like Orwell is, like, really hammering home the point that in this world, there's no one you can trust.
Nope. Winston and Julia, they're separated, taken to the Ministry of Love, the most feared place in Oceania.
Where love is, like, twisted into hate and truth. Truth just doesn't exist anymore.
This is where Winston faces, like, the full force of the party, their methods.
The torture, the starvation, the beatings. It's brutal.
But it's the psychological manipulation that really breaks him, you know?
Yeah. They use his own memories against him, twist them, distort them. He starts to doubt his own sanity.
They make him betray everything. Everything he believes in, everyone he loves.
And through it all, he holds on to Julia. Their love, the rebellion.
It's the one thing the party can't seem to take.
But they're determined. They have to break that connection.
No, to control someone totally, you have to isolate them. You have to cut those bonds. Love, loyalty.
They succeed. Winston, he betrays Julia. He screams, "Do it to Julia, not me. Julia, I don't care what you do to her. Tear her face off, strip her to the bones. Not me, Julia, not me."
Oh, it's just heartbreaking. It just shows you the power of fear, of pain to, like, just override even the deepest love.
In the face of that kind of suffering, Winston chooses himself over love, over loyalty, over his own sense of self even.
He becomes this shell of a man, a puppet.
It's chilling how fragile we are, you know, when faced with that kind of power.
The party, they've achieved their goal. Total control over Winston's mind, his body, everything.
But Orwell, he leaves this little bit of ambiguity, right? Even at the end. When Winston's in the Chestnut Tree Cafe drinking gin, embracing the party's reality.
Here's a hint of something else, right?
Like maybe
yeah.
recognition, regret.
We don't know. Did they really crush him? Or is there like some part of him deep down that still remembers?
That question, that doubt, that's what makes 1984 so powerful, I think. It reminds us that even in the darkest times, even when it seems like all hope is lost, the human spirit. It's resilient.
It's easy to just feel like overwhelmed by the darkness, In 1984, the party, they just control everything.
It feels like there's just no hope, no room for thought, for like being yourself.
And yet,
Yeah.
Orwell, he gives us these little glimmers, right, of resistance, these little things that people do to like hold on to their humanity.
Yeah, like Winston in that glass paperweight
Right.
from his Charrington shop.
Right,
Yeah.
right. It's this symbol of like beauty, of a world before the party, when like people made things, beautiful things. Yeah, when people could like create, express themselves, connect with something outside of like the party's ideology.
And then there's that dream, the golden country. It's like this perfect place, right? Everything that Oceania isn't.
Freedom, nature, just like pure joy, a world without the party.
It's funny, these little things,
Mm-hmm.
a paperweight, a dream, they become so powerful, right? Because of how oppressive Oceania is.
They represent like Winston's inner world, his
Yeah.
refusal to give in completely to what the party's telling him.
And then there's memory itself, how the party tries to control the past,
Yeah.
to like rewrite history, make people doubt their own memory.
The collective amnesia, right, where the only truth is what the party says it is.
But Winston, he fights to remember, to hold on to his past.
Mhm.
It's like an act of rebellion.
It's a way of like reclaiming his identity, his history, when everything around him is telling him it's not real.
Remember that old man in the pub? Winston talks to him, right? And the old man, he just rambles on and on about life before the party.
His memories are all jumbled, not always reliable, but it's like this link to a past the party's tried to erase.
And he uses those old words, right? Like pints and quarts instead of the party's measurements.
Yeah, it's a small thing, but it's like he's holding on to a language the party hasn't totally corrupted yet.
Even the proles.
Yeah.
As much as the party sees them as ignorant, they have these moments too.
Oh, totally. That woman singing outside Winston's window, that simple song, it's a kind of expression that's just like forbidden in the party's world,
Or how they like gather in the streets to watch the rocket bombs fall.
Yeah.
It's this like morbid curiosity,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
But it's also like they're refusing to be totally controlled by fear.
They're little things, yeah.
Yeah.
But they show us that spark, the human spirit. It's hard to extinguish.
There's always that yearning for something more,
Yeah.
for beauty, for connection, for truth.
And that yearning, that's what makes 1984 so powerful,
It's a warning, yeah, about what happens when power goes unchecked.
Yeah.
But it's also, there's hope in it too.
It's a book that like stays with you, It makes you question things, makes you appreciate your own freedoms.
And maybe, just maybe, it helps you find hope in those little acts of defiance, those quiet moments of beauty, the connections we make with each other.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into 1984. Until next time, everyone, keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep that flame of hope alive.